Hello and welcome to today's video. So once again, I'm pleased to be visiting Bob in Dorset, the SF specialist, dealer and collector extraordinaire. And we're going to be having a look through some more of his incredible SF warehouse, as well as parts of his paperback collection. So that's what we're going to be having a look at today. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Okay, so we open up with a few photos from Bob's incredible warehouse. So, I mean, I call it a warehouse. It's not like it's 1,000 square foot or something like that. It is a bit bigger than a normal sized garage, and it's absolutely packed with Bob's duplicates and spares from his own personal collection. And it's split into paperback and hardback, and predominantly, of course, I'm interested in the paperbacks, but I do show you a little bit of the hardbacks here. Now, everything that you're going to see in this first sort of part of the video is for sale. This is, Bob's doubles. So this is all books that he's looking to offload. So all you need to do is just email Bob at mrbook451@outlook.com. Send Bob your wants list, or if you spot something in these initial quarter of an hour or so of footage of Bob's warehouse that you'd like to get your hands on, well, just drop Bob an email and let him know, and he'll get back to you with a price. But it was really well packed, and I had a bit more time I wasn't so overwhelmed by it this time round, and I got there pretty early, so I had plenty of time to check for books that I wanted myself against my wants list, and I was able to get quite a pile, which we'll have a look at the very end. But really pleased with what I've picked up. As usual, there was stuff that I saw that, a day or so later, I'm thinking, I wish I'd picked that up now, but there's always next time. One thing that I was really impressed by was just the sheer amount of pulps that are in Bob's collection, and either in his own collection or what he's got actually spare. And it's an area which I don't think I'm going to go down in any sort of meaningful way. A, because of the space, and B, because I'm not a massive fan of the actual paper quality. I just don't like handling it these days, and I don't know what that is. It's just me, I guess. But something like New Worlds, for example, which did go sort of book format for a while, I think those ones I shall definitely pick up, and the authors that are included in them are generally authors that I like, so I think they might be quite fun to pick up, and some of the other stuff published by Compact around that time. But this is just, it's not every single shelf in there by any means. It's just a bit of a shelf tour to give you a feeling for just what the place is like. Absolutely rammed to the brim with vintage science fiction goodness. I mean, I'm not sure what the cutoff point is. I think, easily there is stuff in the 2000s, 2010s, and even 2020s. But it does go back as far as the 1930s. So quite a wide spectrum of stuff for you to have a look at. Obviously, I was, as I said, I was a bit more prepared this time, so I'd updated a few lists before I went, and I was very pleased to find some more pans and penguins that I was after. Here's more of Bob's astounding science fiction stock, and so many great pulps there. I mean, just brilliant. I'll pull a few out, and we'll see some later on as well. And it's not just one copy. There's often 3, 4, sometimes 5 copies of a single issue of a pulp, and it's really quite mind-blowing. Even a lot of the vintage paperbacks, they're duplicates, so you can take your pick and choose the best condition one for your collection. Certainly there's, like the Ace science fiction Ace doubles, which I absolutely love. I've still, 2 visits, and I've still not really gone through them, just because there's so much else to get first. It is very much like a kid in a sweet shop. As you can see, and if you've got lists on the go, just send them down to Bob. If it's something that he's got, he'll take some photos and send you back with a price, so you'll be able to make your own mind up. And it's Bob's had a bit more time. I think it's been about a month, 6 weeks or so since I was last up there, and it's obviously he's had some sales since the last video. So some people have, there's a steady trickle of orders coming in. So that's created some space, which has meant he's been able to organise the stock a little bit better as well. And these I wanted to just show you. It's some foreign editions, predominantly J.G. Ballard, but they're all overseas foreign language copies, which you just don't really see around anymore. And I didn't want to not get the chance to show you some of these, because I know when I last visited Morris at Zardoz Books, he had a run of vintage French paperbacks which were particularly nice, and these are once again superb, really unusual, and I think that's the good thing about this. It just shows the breadth of Bob's collection, that this sort of stuff is in there. But thankfully this time round I've been able to have a look at Bob's paperback collection, and I've been able to film that. We talk about a few bits as well, and then Bob towards the end he pulls out a few special items from the collection, some nice pulps, and we talk about those. And then at the very end I'll show you all the goodies that I bought, and I estimate I must have picked up about must be almost 50 books I think, so I got a great haul. But there was lots more I could have bought, but sometimes you have to draw the line a little bit. But yeah, you may want to use the old pause button and zoom in on a few of these titles to see if it's something in particular that you're after. Now Bob's got huge runs of Interzone and other science fiction magazines of the period as well, and he has given me some copies of Millennium as well, which I'll also show you towards the end, which was from the same sort of people as Interzone, so you might find those interesting. So if there's any old issues of those that you need, once again just email Bob and let him know, because they're cheap and cheerful. Here's some more of Bob's Badger file copies. An absolutely fascinating story about how he got those, and I've picked up some more Badgers for my collection. Very, very pleased to get more Pan paperbacks. And Bob's own collection of Pan is really quite something, so yeah, some good stuff there. Lots of copies of new writings in SF, both hardback and paperback. Not them all, but there's a lot in there. And there's more of the softback New Worlds, and the kitten made an appearance again, making sure we were alright. Great stuff. I said lots and lots of pulps. Absolutely fantastic to see so many in lovely condition as well. A few more pulps to take a look at. They're beautiful, aren't they? They do eat up the space though. That is the thing. As much as they're gorgeous to look at. And the big thick early ones, those are just stunning. Absolutely fantastic, and such great authors in them. Classics upon classic. Just great. Science fantasy now, one of the more common British ones, but no less cool. Trying to film these and pull them out with one hand is a little tricky. And even Western pulps as well, which I've hardly ever had any through my hands. just a couple, and nothing this old. That's amazing, really. Galaxy science fiction. And then I think, as I showed last time, there's paperbacks going right up round the windy staircase up to the top, where there's yet more vintage stuff, vintage panthers and corgis, and then stacks of proofs and things like that. Loads of stuff, but as you can see, there's a few little gaps starting to form where people have been finding books for their collection. But to be absolutely clear, it is just the books in the warehouse that we're looking at now that are for sale. When we get in and have a look at Bob's personal collection, none of that is for sale. It's just Bob's personal collection that he's sharing with us. You could say paperback heaven, and you'd not be far wrong. And there's some of the proofs and larger format books. And yet more pulps. The later 70s and 80s ones. Okay, so we're looking at the first sort of bookcase here. Now, one thing that I spotted last time, you've got one of the Dell 10 Centers, the Robert Heinlein one of the most attractive ones of all, Universe, which is a gorgeous one, isn't it, that one?
Yeah, it is lovely, yes. The man with two heads.
Yeah. Just brilliant.
Was that where Douglas Adams got his inspiration?
Yeah.
We'll never know.
What's it say for people props?
That's right.
Yeah, good play. And then this is your personal run of pulps then, isn't it?
Yes, I for many years collected science fiction magazines, British and American, so Authentic and Astounding and Other Worlds.
Beautiful conditioning.
Well, in the early 50s, of course, in America, there were dozens and dozens of magazines. That was really the boom time for pulp magazines in the States, the sort of after the war. The austerity of war had passed, and reading was the popular hobby until the television took over. So it wasn't uncommon to see a newsstand with hundreds of different pulps, not just science fiction, but detective pulps, westerns, romances, you name it.
All the genres.
Yeah. I happen to have focused mostly on science fiction, but I do have a few detective bits here and there, a few mystery bits, and a few westerns.
It's clear you've got great taste. That's what it is, isn't it?
I try and focus on condition as well, because for things that aren't super rare, you can afford to be a bit fussy.
Well, I was just looking at these SF Impulses. I mean, they are pristine. I mean, with those black spines, absolutely fantastic to see.
Yeah, difficult to find in really
nice condition.
Condition, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so this is an incredible wall, and there's a lot here to talk about. So, I suppose first of all, along the top, some of your favourite covers again, yeah?
Yeah, and a lot of those actually are Australian.
Right.
Certainly the first three, and then the Black Book Detectives, which are reprints.
Yeah.
But done in Australia and much smaller than pulp size that were done in the States.
Absolutely.
And then just a few covers that, again, that 1940s period, most of these 40s and 50s, early 50s.
And then we move on to, pans. Your pan library.
Yeah. I kind of got the pan bug.
You've got the bug. Now, have I had anything to do with that? Have I spurred you on a little bit?
Well, I will confess I started collecting before I started watching your videos, but it has reinvigorated my desire to pick them up. I do tend to be very fussy on condition, so
you can see they're really outstanding copies.
Well, I just don't have the room for acquiring every pan.
If it's not in great shape,
I prefer to just, acquire them occasionally when they turn up in the right shape for me. But
Yeah. These early ones here with the black spines, I know how difficult those ones are to find in nice condition.
Well, and some of them, again, with dust wrappers.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, absolutely. The early Agatha Christie's is 5 below 100, and they're all quite collectible now.
Very tough. And you don't see them as much as you used to. I mean, if we go back to the 80s and 90s where, most second-hand bookshops would have some pans.
Yeah.
But of course, now the bookshops themselves have gone.
That's right, yeah.
So difficult to pick up these days.
Absolutely, but
it used to be.
Certainly, and we've got some more pans to look at in a minute, but very, very nice. And then, well, a quite stunning wall of beautiful badgers.
Yeah, I was very fortunate when I started collecting badgers to hit a big collection, well, from the publisher themselves.
Right.
So a big collection to start me off, as it were.
So how long ago was that then?
Must have been over 20 years ago now, maybe getting on for 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And I will confess to still need one SF number 99. If anyone out there's got a beautiful copy of SF 99,
needs to be top shape.
Very, very pleased to hear from you.
So you heard that SF 99, guys.
But yeah, no, I picked up all the science fiction, the supernatural, and also some of the crime and mystery ones as well. I haven't bothered with the westerns and the romances, not because I don't like them. I like them a lot. I like the Fox covers, especially. Yeah. But I just don't have the space.
No, so I'm with you there. I see SF 55. You've got that lovely copy there of Rodent Mutation.
Rodent Mutation.
Can I take that one out?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, when I'm quite high on my wants list, that one. I'd love to get that.
Well, a nice anecdote was that when I acquired the collection from Solasiel's estate, there was actually another copy of Rodent Mutation which had actually been eaten by a mouse. And I'm not joking. So a collector was actually quite happy to pay for a copy that had been half eaten by a mouse.
And then, well, what have we got below? It's a science fantasy, more pulps again.
Yeah, this is a combination of British and American 50s, mainly 1950s pulps.
Right.
So yeah, just the some of the more obscure titles.
Yeah.
A few of the Gerald Swans, which are uncommon. And then just bits and pieces. A nice run of Phantom at the bottom, which is quite a scarce magazine.
Ah, right, yeah. Lovely.
Certainly scarce in nice shape.
Yeah.
And there's still a few things I'm looking for here and there, but largely these are complete runs.
Fantastic. And then you've got a few more pans over here, I see.
Yeah.
Filling up every little nook and cranny, as we do, don't we? We were saying earlier about, if there's a bit of spare space, we need to put some books in it.
And also a bit of pan ephemera.
Indeed, yeah. So
I do like some of the advertising stuff.
Absolutely, I think it's brilliant. So, tell me about that. By my love.
Well, yeah, that's a really interesting one. I was fortunate enough to acquire the painting and found the book to go with it.
Yeah.
And then when I was in the States, I found a copy of the American version, and it was only when I brought it back and started to examine it that realised that actually the artwork is very slightly different.
Yeah.
You can see it in the lady's cigarette smoke. It's just very slightly different. And I met somebody who explained that in those days when a publisher was doing an edition in Britain, they would have the cover repainted by a professional artist, and they would do these repaintings in an afternoon.
Right.
But so good that it's virtually identical to the original.
Amazing.
An amazing skill to be able to do that.
And then the intruder behind.
Yes,
is
Charles Beaumont. Yeah, that's the original for the Pan Giant.
Is that Hans Selwig?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Brilliant. Yeah,
correct.
You're the only other person I know with that particular stand, because I've got one and you've got one.
Oh, right.
Tim has got a couple of different ones of these in his collection. He's got the middle one. I think there's you and I were the only two I know who's got it.
Right. I pick those up whenever I can.
Yeah, absolutely. And we probably both bought that at the London Paperback show, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
A little find. And then some more pans up there.
Yeah. Again, I just pick them up when I can. Less and less these days in condition, but when I can.
Okay, so another wall filled with delights. So we're still at the bottom, I think, this time. So a little pile of pans here going up the side. And then into more early 1930s pulps here. So unknown.
Yes. The companion to astounding science fiction. So it tended to publish the more of the fantasy.
Yeah.
That was maybe not suitable for astounding, but found a home in unknown.
Right,
and a much loved magazine.
Yeah, and then early amazing stories and strange tales.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, I don't have complete runs of all pulps. I mean, it just isn't feasible, but just where they've come my way in nice condition. And I must admit, some of them, stand up to reading today and some don't.
Yeah.
A bit of a mixture.
But, couldn't have said it better myself. Books do furnish a room, don't they ever?
Yes.
Yeah.
And for me, one of the kind of cornerstones of collecting pulps is to get that run of yellow and black spined astoundings.
Yeah.
It's just the iconic period of science fiction, really, that sort of late 30s into the 40s and then through into the early 50s. That
Absolutely.
was known as the Golden Age.
Indeed, yeah. And you got a fair run of weird tales as well.
Yeah, sadly not a complete run.
Lots of rare ones in there, isn't there?
I was never rich enough to really focus on weird tales.
No, it's an expensive one for sure.
Yeah.
But they do take up the space, don't they, when you collect pulps?
They do. Yes, you've got to have there's something about them for me I just love. But you've got to have that love for the pulps, really.
Yeah.
And again, you just don't see them very often these days cropping up in what few bookshops there are, second-hand bookshops. But
And now more beautiful condition pans.
yes, unfortunately, I don't have a dedicated area for the pans. The pans just fill up spaces that are left over.
That's all right. But it's lovely to see them in such high grade.
Yeah, some of the bigger ones, the pan giants and above, are tough to find without rolled spines and damaged spines.
Absolutely, yeah. There's many in there that I'm very jealous of. In a good way. In a good way. Okay, so this is Bob's little display cabinet, which is filled with goodies. So let's see what we got here, Bob. So that's the American, isn't it? The Avon Agatha Christie.
Yeah.
The Big Four.
Yeah.
Brilliant jacket on that one.
Yeah,
actually,
just
isn't it?
got really a treasure. I mean, part of my collecting is about the cover art.
Yeah.
So for me, anything with a really lurid, bright cover art, that kind of 40s, 50s feel is what I love.
It's attractive, yeah.
Just unusual things like the pan cover proof at the back. It's
yes.
unusual to see flat proofs.
Absolutely. I've only got one myself in my pan collection.
Something I like to pick up.
That Cave Girl, that Edgar Rice Burroughs. That's a great one, isn't it? Yeah.
And that puzzle that's underneath those badges, the Flash Gordon, early 50s. So yeah, just like putting a few things with the books that aren't books themselves, but are just related.
Night of the Jabberwock, that's good, isn't it? A Boardman.
Yeah, I'm particularly interested in Frederick Brown as an author, so yeah, I'm not a completist on Boardman books or anything by any means, but just things that grab me.
Lovely. And having a look at the shelf below here. The
a little bit of ephemera, some publishers' catalogues, a few calendars, and just bits and bobs that I've acquired over the years.
And that copy of Junkie we saw last time we visited.
Yeah, I still got to get that restored.
Oh, fantastic.
Find the right people for that.
Right then, Bob. Well, once again, thanks very much for inviting me back. It's been fantastic. I pulled loads of paperbacks, which we'll have a look at in a minute, and to be able to see your own collection is really, really quite something. But once again, you've pulled out a few like little specials for us to have a look at. Yeah.
Yeah, just one or two books maybe that are representative of the books that I've collected over the years.
Yeah.
I do love that classic period of Pans of the sort of mid to late 50s, primarily because of the cover art. The artist for me that really screams Pan is Peff.
Me too, yeah.
And he was such a gentleman. I was fortunate enough to meet him on a number of occasions. He used to come to London Paperback Show.
Yeah.
And indeed I took on one occasion some of my Peff covers to get him to sign.
Indeed, and this is, I was really pleased to see this one because it's signed in the gold, isn't it? Which my signed Peffs are. Yeah. And all I can do is echo exactly what you said. He was the nicest possible chap. You put stuff in front of him, perhaps he hadn't seen it in decades, you know, made him smile. And was the nicest and warmest chap towards his fans, which is brilliant.
He was.
So gorgeous. And you got another one here as well.
I just think they go so nicely together.
Cool, don't they ever? Yeah.
Just fabulous.
And these are once again really nice sort of mint copies of these. And you had these copies long?
Well, they came from a collection that turned up locally many years ago, where a chap had wrapped every single paperback he owned in brown paper.
Okay.
So when a book dealer went in to buy them, he said, well, I don't know what I'm buying because they're all wrapped in brown paper. So he took a little bit of a punt on them, and I was lucky enough to pick up quite a few from him. This is going back 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
But that's probably what got me started with Pans.
I would very much describe them as absolute minters. If only all our books were in that lovely condition, weren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and then, well, this is quite a famous... I don't think I've got this one, but what's the story with this, Sam?
Well, I mean, it's a classic of science fiction. It obviously has inspired a movie, but I don't think Isaac Asimov probably had a lot to do with this book, the British edition. For a start, that robot is not really what I think he had in mind. It's as tall as buildings and looks pretty threatening.
Yeah.
But the other thing that makes me feel as if he never saw a proof of this was, of course, they spelled his name wrong.
Yes.
It should be double A, not double S.
And on the spine as well, yeah. So quite a tragic mistake, that one.
Yes, I think so.
Whoops. Yeah.
There we are.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, so this is a nice early Badger. Supernatural stories. What's special about this one then?
Well, it's I suppose quite nice to see the cover art in the library. All you see is the yellow spines. But,
absolutely.
But no, the unusual thing about these is the number of the copies that I managed to get appear to have had the cover applied by hand rather than on a machine.
Look at that.
And it strikes me that these were probably the first printer's copies, almost like book proofs, that were given to the publisher, where the printer has printed the interior of the book and just glued a cover on by hand as a way of saying, well, this is what it's going to look like.
Like a sample almost.
Yeah. Just to say, you're happy with this, this is the way it's going to be.
Oh no, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, and beautiful condition. I can well believe that. Now, here's another later one, Hand of Doom. Lionel Fanthorpe again.
Yeah, just quite a classic SF image of the time.
SF 44.
And again, what came along with that was some flat cover proofs that the printers had obviously sent to the publisher just to say, well, this is how it's going to look.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to meet Lionel, and he signed a little slip to go with it.
Oh, fantastic.
Maybe get that framed one day.
Yeah, it's really good. So the cover proofs, don't see Badger cover proofs very often, so very, very nice indeed. And you've got a couple more Badger rarities here.
Well,
these are crime ones, aren't they?
These are crime ones, and they're kind of interesting because I think what publishers in the 50s, late 40s and 50s were doing is they were so keen to put out books because whatever they put out would sell, that sometimes they were retitling and putting different names to the books.
Yeah.
When really the books had already been published maybe once already under a different title. And certainly these two are examples of works by E.C. Tubb and Sid Bounds, again, who were able to authenticate that actually these were their
So you got that
books.
one signed by him, yeah.
Yeah, that one signed by Tubb and the other one by Sid Bounds.
Wow.
Again, another couple of absolute legends of the British publishing scene.
Yes.
Sadly no longer with us.
Oh, brilliant. And just Badger crime in general seems to be very, very scarce, doesn't it?
Yes, I don't think it was produced in the same numbers as the science fiction and certainly not kept. Science fiction collectors had that habit of keeping everything.
Yeah, well, it's true. Yeah. Right, so what is this then?
Well, this is a giveaway that was sent to subscribers who had taken out a subscription to Authentic science fiction. Authentic was one of the sort of 3 or 4 leading original British science fiction magazines in the 50s. And this was, I think it's reasonably scarce. It was a little booklet that was sent just to the people who bothered to actually send their money direct to Authentic rather than buying it through a newsagent.
Right, right.
So yeah, just a little bit of ephemera to go with my Authentics.
Very, very nice, unusual.
And another,
lovely, isn't it?
probably more short-lived magazine, the British Science Fiction magazine, based around stories by Vargo Stanton. The earlier versions of these are sort of large pulp size, but these later ones are actually, I think, a lot scarcer and very difficult to find in top condition.
Yeah.
It didn't run for that many issues, perhaps 20 or so. I forget the exact number, but these had particularly nice, again, 50s period covers, and not common these days.
No, very, very nice to see those. Okay, so you've pulled out some really nice pulps for us to have a look at now. So what's the story with these two?
Well, these are both British pulps. The one on the left, The Strange Detective Mysteries, was a kind of reprint of American material. I think only had one issue, untrimmed, which for British pulps was quite unusual.
Yeah.
The Western Stories is more of an original British pulp in the sense that this was published by Boardman. And of course has got a Dennis McLaughlin cover. I particularly like McLaughlin as an artist. And they published a number of pulps, a few westerns, a few obviously detective ones, and 1 or 2 science fiction. So yeah, just really unusual pulps, not large runs.
No. Very, very scarce. No
doubt. Just taking advantage of that kind of post-war opportunity where almost whatever you published would be sold.
Yeah.
Because books were reasonably scarce. There was still paper rationing, of course, until 1953. Sorry.
So we got a couple more here. So we've got which is absolutely fantastic. In fact, they're both really good. So this is, Dracula. Something like that.
An early take on it. An early copy of it is. These are both pre-war. I believe they're about 1939, late 30s, and uncommon because there were big paper drives during the war to rustle up all the paper you could to, for the war effort. Yeah. The one on the left, The Swift Action, I only acquired recently, and quite obviously a Tarzan pastiche of some sort, which was quite common because Burroughs was so big back then. Yeah. But the Burroughs estate was often very quick to jump on unlicensed use of Tarzan, of a sort of Tarzan-like figure, certainly. The one on the right, I bought from Sid Bounds when he was moving out of London. Yeah, and I believe one of those stories is one of his under a pseudonym, but I never got the opportunity to double check that with him.
It says look out for number 2. But...
Yeah, I've never seen a number 2. If anybody out there has, let me know. But Thrills number 2 is meant to have a Jack Williamson story. Wow. No, never seen it.
And then you brought a few more here. So we got Marvel Tales.
Yes, well, although this has a British sticker on the front, it's of course an original American pulp. Again, a one-shot just from 1939, I think, 38, 39, that sort of period. And again, just in that period where there was just so many titles published to take advantage of people just wanting to read.
Fantastic. And this, The Talking Dead.
Yeah, which I used for a number of years as a sort of byline. I mean, this I actually picked up locally in the days when, you could go around dozens of second-hand bookshops and find little pulps here and there.
Yeah.
Not anymore. But not strictly a detective pulp. It carried a variety of content, general fiction.
Oh, fair enough. Then we've got some beautiful Weird Tales here.
Well, yes, Weird Tales, of course, famous for using some of the best artists at the time, including Margaret Brundage, and just fabulous cover artists.
Lovely, yeah.
And really gave Weird Tales that sort of
distinctive look.
Yeah, the distinctive feel of the 30s, isn't it?
Yeah.
And carried, let's face it, some of the best fiction in the sort of weird horror genre.
Absolutely.
Robert E. Howard, Lovecraft.
That's it, yeah. I'm reading a Robert Howard one at the moment, his early Conan, and they say in the introduction that even with his stuff, they turned a few bits down and sent it back to be rewritten. So they were super picky, the editors at the time.
And of course, the authors then turned their hands to almost any type of fiction. Robert Howard certainly wrote boxing stories and all sorts of Western stories, all sorts of genres.
Oh, fantastic,
But and of course, classic Jack Williamson Golden Blood issue, which is one of my personal favourites.
Yeah, but brilliant. This one with the noose coming down there.
Yes. Excellent, isn't it?
The poor girl.
Excellent.
And then
going even further back, early 30s. This one,
early 1930s.
This is an interesting one. It was a magazine put out by the Gernsback organisation. Hugo Gernsback, obviously being the editor of Amazing Stories and Wonder Stories, some of the earliest science fiction pulps.
Yeah.
But this is just, I think, wacky because I have a number of these and they just have amazing, crazy covers. A lot of them by Frank R. Paul, who did a lot of the covers for Wonder Stories and the early Amazings. But chariot racing on motorbikes.
There you go. We've seen it all now.
That was the future in 1934.
And this
bringing us bang up to date.
Yeah,
probably one of the rarest magazines actually I've got in my collection. This is the final New Worlds of the main run, which finished with issue number 201, an issue that a lot of people would want to finish off their complete run of New Worlds, but
special subscription only.
Yes, and as Mike Ashley quite rightly pointed out in his review of science fiction magazines, there were very few subscribers.
Yeah,
towards the end, it lost its Arts Council funding and was really struggling. So
what a shame.
Who knows how many copies have made it out there? But I was lucky enough to complete my run.
Brilliant. Yeah, well, a fantastic run it is. Well, once again, Bob, I'm blown away with what you've shown us today. There's just some fantastic stuff here, and I'm glad I'll be taking home a small part of it.
Well, I have to say, Jules, I have been collecting for nearly 50 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in that time, I mean, it's just a testament to your collecting prowess. You've got some fantastic stuff, and the condition is just mind-blowing. It's just so nice across the board. So once again, thank you very much.
No, my pleasure. Lovely to see you again.
Come along. Thank you. Excellent. Well, although we only touched on the paperbacks, my friend Steve, or our mutual friend Steve, is going to be focusing on your hardback collection.
Yes, he's going
at
to come
some point in the future.
Come and do a little bit of filming. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Well, look out for that one soon. Yeah. So, of course, one of the great things about going to visit Bob and Zardos and places like that is, of course, you always come away with a box of supremely cool vintage paperbacks. So I'll go through these in detail when I next do my monthly pickups video, and I give them all a bit of a clean. Not that these need much of a clean, but I thought in the meantime I do want to show you some of the goodies that I've picked up, and I did get quite a bit of Penguin science fiction this time round, which was cool. That was that history of the science fiction magazine. I've got the first 2 of those. It's an odd Doctor Who book that I was after. Much more recent, Memory Sea. This is a book that I had when the book was published, and I gave it a read. It's a really good sort of eco science fiction story, which is one that I've really enjoyed. So I fancied getting that one back again. This is a nice Ballantine. I picked up a few Ballantine ones, and although this is slightly later, and I've actually got this one, it's in much better condition than my copy. I do love Ballantine SF in particular, and it's difficult to collect any American publisher over here, but that was one they had, and I got a few more of those today. Lots and lots of nice Pan books, some better than others, but in almost all cases the Pans I picked up are ones I just didn't have at all, so always glad to get some of those. Next, a John Wyndham. Great to see that one, a later Fawcett gold medal. Pretty certain I haven't got that one either. There's another Ballantine Jose Farmer, very, very nice one. That was the movie tie-in to 2001. Ironically, I've got the making of 2001, and I've got the Lost Worlds of 2001, but I haven't actually got the movie tie one, crazily. So that's one little wedge there. Then going straight on, I got the Lace book. This is a slightly smaller format there. Maker of Universes. Another Penguin. I don't think I've actually ever seen this one. Who? It's number 2217. So once again, really, really pleased to get so many Penguins. There's that Pan there. Picked up a few of those. Pleased to get that one, which has got a nice PEF cover. That one I didn't have. Picked up a few Digits as well. That's a real nice one, that. And a Twilight Zone book I haven't got. I've got about 4. Definitely haven't got that one. Another Ballantine there. Earlier one, number 91. Chad Oliver. I'd love to get the first 100 or so. That would be fantastic. This is a Marvel illustrated one. This is the Marvel comic book adaptation to the first Conan movie, which I was particularly pleased to get. I like these Marvel illustrated books. I picked up a few compacts as well. This is one I didn't have. There's another one there. Time Transfer. Planet called Krishna. Sprang de Camp. And a Moorcock, which I didn't have there. Sundered Worlds. Another one here. Fire Clown. And Warlords of Mars. These are ones which I'd asked Bob to pull out for me before I came round. So let's pop them out of the way. As I said, I didn't do bad. I got about, well, we'll count them up at the end, but I reckon must be close to 50. This one, once again, I believe I've got a copy of this, but in nowhere near as nice condition. And I do like Arthur C. Clarke as well. This number 52, Ballantine 52. One of the first sort of science fiction authors I ever read was Arthur C. Clarke. I was pleased to get this one. So this is the Pam first of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This is a book that went on to be reprinted, 100 times maybe, but this was the very first paperback printing. I used to have the first, this one, and Restaurant at the End of the Universe, signed by Douglas Adams in paperback first, and I sold them back in the 90s, and I've always regretted it. And sold them for like £25 the pair. So I was glad to get that back. Not as hard to get or anything, but just glad to get it. Another nice Ballantine here. Robert Sheckley. 126. Sprang de Camp. And another compact there. A couple of compacts. I picked up some more of the New Worlds anthology. So I think, I'll double check, but I think I've pretty much got all 10 of these now. I think. I might be missing one odd one. Number 7 there. Number 8. These are really great. Number 9. I'm sure number 10's in here somewhere. There's an odd Pam. Another Pam there. They're great, aren't they? Mr. Jelly Roll. Which once again, I think I've got that one. But maybe just not in anything like as nice condition. But my wants list says I haven't got it, so maybe not. This was good. It's a bit dusty, but it's the first Bill the Galactic Hero. It's right at the tail end of my Penguin sort of collection. And once again, I'm trying to pick up a bit of Harry Harrison. And I've got I prefer the American editions over the British ones. I've got like the stainless steel rat, and I picked up the stainless steel rat's Revenge at Bob's, so that was pretty cool. In fact, there it is, stainless steel rat's Revenge. There we are. So that's, I think, the second one. It's Slippery Jim Degrees. I've got the first stainless steel rat. They're not expensive or anything, but I just think the American ones are more interesting. Picked up a few of these Badger ones. These are sort of the romance ones. A lot of them are Doctor romance ones, but they're super scarce. They've got covers by Fox, and you just don't see them around at all. So they're rare paper, and these are like file copies. Another Harry Harrison, which once again I believe I've got this one, but in nowhere near as great shape as that. This is a beauty, covered by Oval. So I got a few pounds this time around. I did pretty lucky. It's always nice to fill in some blanks on the pans, because there's not exactly specialist dealers with them. So another Badger, another one from the New Worlds. And I said I did pretty. It was a pretty good haul. This is one of the Spy ones, Spy number 2. And that was that missing New Worlds number 10 with that incredibly funky cover. Once again, this one I've got, but even though it's got the big 1 on, the 1 shilling on, I think my copy's far worse than that. It was 4 square, just as they were moving, about to become New English Library. Yeah, there we are. So it was that sort of crossover period. It's only black and white inside, but it's only the second one I've ever seen. I've got one myself, and I don't think I've ever seen another one, and mine's questionable, so that was an upgrade. Now, these two here are really nice. These are Badger books, but they're the American versions, Vega books, and this one's been signed by Lionel Fanthorpe, so that's pretty cool. I haven't got any of those, so it's a nice little variation on the traditional Badger books. Another Penguin science fiction, and a nice digit. And the last few here we got Henry Kuttner, another early Ballantine. This is Ballantine number 30 in their series, which is cool. I do have some more Ballantines which are not science fiction as part of that main one. As I said, I'd love to get the first 100 or so. This is another digit that I didn't have, Donald Wilhelm, so that's a pretty good name. This one I have got, but nowhere near in such lovely condition. Nice nuclear explosion cover there. Another Penguin, beautiful condition. Look at that perfect spine on it. Very, very nice. And also the first part of Mike Ashley's incredible history of the science fiction magazine. And the other thing I got was 6 copies of the Penguin Modern Painters, which Bob had come across. I've only got one of these for Baldwin, so pleased to get those. So that was my incredible haul. And how many books in total did I get then? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14. Amazingly, I got 63 paperbacks and 6 of the Penguin Modern Painters, so 69 books in all. That was a particularly decent haul. So once again, thank you very much to Bob for allowing me to visit, and look out for Steve's video. Steve, the Outlaw Bookseller, he's going to be next visiting Bob, and he's going to film Bob's personal vintage science fiction collection, and believe me, that is something you will not want to miss, because it's just astonishing. If you like Bob's paperback collection, his hardbacks are really something, so look out for that one. Once again, thanks very much to Bob for allowing me to go along and film. I had such a great time, and I shall look forward to coming back again in a couple of months, if he'll have me, for a bit more shopping. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Don't forget, do give the video a thumbs up. Do please hit the subscribe button if you've not already, and don't forget to email Bob if you've seen something in the start of the video that you fancy buying yourself. Thanks for watching today, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.